We are continuing our searching series. So the first week, if you remember, we talked about when Mary and Joseph lost Jesus and just what that must have been like to lose the Son of God. Never a good thing. And then last week, we were talking about Zacchaeus and being a wee little man, and I got more than one joke about that. So just, that was definitely there. And today, forgive me, for some reason, as I continued to go over this message, I kept on interjecting Zacchaeus for Lazarus. Okay, so if I accidentally say Zacchaeus, apparently I went over that message so many times that Zacchaeus is the name that just comes to my brain all the time. So if I accidentally say Zacchaeus today, I mean Lazarus. And just move on from there. All right, so have you ever been in a situation where someone is looking at something or they're trying to investigate something and you're like, wow, what are they looking at? I'm curious to see what they're seeing. For me, back when we lived in Illinois, once Haley got into middle school, I had to drop her off at a different school, and so my route to work changed. And so I would drop her off at middle school, and then I'd drive off to the church. And the one day I'm driving, and I noticed at this one corner there was a car parked alongside the road. And I was like, oh, man, somebody had car trouble. That's a shame, and I just kept on going off to work. The next day, there's that same car. I'm like, oh, man, they better come get that because around here, it's going to be towed pretty quick. Then the next day, there's two cars. I'm like, oh, the cars have a date. I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, what's starting to happen? So the next day, there's three cars at that corner. Okay, I have got to figure out what's going on. I look in my rearview mirror. No one's behind me. I'm at a stop sign, and there's the three cars. Put my car in park, and I'm looking all around, trying to find out where are these people. I find these people, and they all have cameras. I'm like, okay, something exciting is happening, right? If there's people with cameras, it wasn't a vacation spot, so something's happening, and I'm looking around, and I'm watching, and I'm trying to figure out, I see them, and I see they're looking off into the distance. I'm trying to figure out what are they looking at, and right, they've got these zoom lenses. I mean, they're like monster lenses. They've got their little monopods and tripods, and so I'm looking way, way off into the distance. I'm not seeing anything, and finally my gaze comes back closer, and there in this big, giant, dead tree is a bald eagle's nest. So they've been coming and taking pictures of the bald eagle. They had their zoom lens, so I'm thinking, it must be far away. And no, they just apparently want to see the eyelashes of the eagles. And but it was because their cars were there, that they were there, that my attention was drawn to them. Right? And I wanted to see what they were seeing. I wanted to be a part of what they were experiencing because it seemed like it was going to be important. Well, we're going to talk about that similar situation today with the story of Lazarus. And this is Lazarus being raised from the dead. And that's a fun background. All right, that is not the background I thought it was going to be, but we'll get there. I don't want to read the whole passage of Scripture. Okay, so just to kind of fill you in, to get you up to speed, Jesus is with his disciples. And Lazarus, who is a good friend of Jesus, falls ill. And Mary and Martha send word to Jesus, hey, Lazarus, in fact, it says, the one you love is sick. And so it's like a best friend of Jesus. He gets word that his friend is sick, that he's ill. So much so that his sisters send word. So it must be serious. It's not like, oh, Lazarus has the sniffles. This is serious. We need to let Jesus know. So since this is Jesus' friend, obviously Jesus is going to drop everything and he's going to go heal Lazarus, right? No. Jesus gets word that he's sick, and Jesus says, all right, don't worry about it. Not going to end in a death. But I'm just going to hang out here for a while. And so a couple days later, he tells his disciples, hey, you know what? We're going to go see Lazarus. We're going to head to Judea. The disciples are like, hey, time out, Jesus. Judea, do we need to refresh your memory? The last time we were there, they tried to stone you. They're not exactly Jesus fans in that region right now. Are you sure you want to go? And Jesus is telling them, yeah, this is what we're going to do. If you want to read through, he talks about basically there's 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of darkness. You need to work during the daylight. Basically what he's saying is, hey, I have a limited amount of time here on earth for my earthly ministry, and it's coming to an end. And so I'm going to work the entire time I'm here. And so, yes, we're going to go. And so he tells them, he's like, hey, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep. We're going to wake him up. And the disciples, at some point, you would think the disciples would realize Jesus talks in riddles sometimes. Right? And so Jesus says, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep. We're going to go wake him up. And they're like, took him literally. They're like, well, if he's asleep, why are we going to wake him up? Remember, he's sick. So this is probably a good thing. Let this poor sick guy sleep, and that'll be good for him. And Jesus finally says, no, look, he's dead. And I'm glad I wasn't there to heal him so that you will believe. So Jesus is like, okay, Lazarus is dead, and I'm going to go and take care of this. So he's heading down, and this is where we're going to pick up the passage of Scripture. Actually, no, I lied. He's in the region. Martha gets word that Jesus is there. And so she goes and meets Jesus, and basically, I'm going to do it. You're all looking at the slide. You couldn't just pay attention. Sorry, I put that up too quick. All right, so Martha goes out, knows Jesus is there. She goes out and says, Jesus, if you would have been here, my brother would still be alive. Because when Jesus gets there, he's already dead, and he's been in the tomb for 4 days. So Martha goes and says, if you just would have been here, if you would have been here, this would have all been taken care of. And Jesus says, your brother's going to live again. And Martha's like, yeah, I know. And the final day, at the resurrection, he'll live again. And she can't get past, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead. Right? And Jesus is like, no, I am the life and resurrection right here. Hello, right here, standing in front of you. You don't have to wait for a future date. I'm the resurrection. And if you believe in me, this is going to be okay. And Martha still, if you read through it, it's kind of like she's going through the motions and the words. I hear what you're saying. But again, almost coming back, but if you would have been here, he would have never died. And Jesus is trying to say, he's coming back to life, and I don't mean later. And Martha's still like, if he would have been here, he wouldn't have died. She's not quite grasping. So now, you can look at the screen. So Martha goes, and after she has said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. The teacher is here, she said, and is asking for you. When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now, we're going to stop here for a second. Mary is mourning Lazarus' death at this point. And especially in that culture, this is not I can't believe he's dead. This is wailing. This is blubbering. She is mourning his death. She hears that Jesus is there, and she quickly gets up and goes because Jesus called for her. It doesn't say that she got up, cleaned herself off, straightened her hair, made sure she was presentable, and then went to Jesus. No, she got up and took off right away. When Jesus called and said, hey, I want to meet with Mary, Mary was like, I am there. I'm going to go. And it doesn't matter what my circumstances are. It doesn't matter how I look. It doesn't matter my situation right now. I need to be with Jesus. And this is a side point that I want to bring up. Some of us, Jesus is calling, and we're trying to clean ourselves up first. And we're saying, I'm not good enough yet. Jesus, let me get cleaned up just a little bit. Oh, don't catch me in this situation, Jesus. Let me get myself out of this situation. Let me clean up this mess that I've made first before I come to you, because if you would see this, you might not be as happy to see me. So I want to make sure that I'm presentable to you. And Jesus is saying, I don't need you to clean yourself up. I've already seen you at your worst. Just come. Just come. So Mary, she takes off. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still out at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. Now, interesting little tidbit. There was some belief back in the Jewish culture that when someone died, their soul would hover around the body. Now, some say 3 days, some say 4 days. It was really interesting reading about this. Some say a week, some say a year. I'm like, could you narrow it down, people? Like, it's like 3, 4, a week, a year. But there was this belief that the soul would kind of hover around the body and ride to see, hey, if my body gets better for some reason, then I can go back into it, was the idea. And so the thought was the soul would get confused and would go from the grave back to the house, to the grave, to the house. And so the mourners were there. The reason the mourners were so just outwardly mourning was to cue to the soul, you're dead. You need to understand, you're gone. And so the soul would come and see all the mourners and go, oh, that's why I feel lost. I'm dead. But they would think it would travel from the tomb to the house and back and forth. And so they thought, oh, she's going to the tomb to mourn again to help Lazarus' soul understand that he's dead. Now, the reason I say that is that gives a little bit more reason and a little more of the thought process that they're in at that time. Not only are they sad that Lazarus is gone, but some of the mourners are there to say, look, Lazarus, you are dead. There's nothing that can be done. You need to go off to eternity now. So they think, oh, she must be going to the tomb to mourn, and so they go with her. When Mary reaches the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. At the feet of Jesus is not a new place for Mary. See, Mary is also, this is the Mary who poured the perfume on Jesus' feet and washed his feet with her hair. She's been at his feet before. She was there humbly, showing the respect and going, oh my goodness, I understand who this person is. If you did, you wouldn't think that it's crazy what I'm doing right now to anoint him. This is also the Mary who, when Jesus came into the house, she sat at his feet, almost in the position of a disciple to listen to his teaching, as Martha was busy getting everything ready and came to Jesus and said, hey, could you tell my sister to help me out in the kitchen, because I got a lot of work to do and she's just sitting around. So this isn't new for Mary to be at Jesus' feet. But it says that she came and she fell at his feet. She was so emotionally drained that when she saw him, I just pictured that she's running out. She knows where he is. She's running out. She's like, this is who I need. This is who I need to connect with. This is the one who's going to make everything right. And she just runs, and I just see her almost diving, falling face first at his feet, and just still wailing with tear-soaked cheeks, and just wailing and saying, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. And she's just saying, Jesus, fix this. There's nothing I can do. Fix this. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. So I did a little digging on that phrase. Basically, it means Jesus did something like, picture that. Mary weeping at his feet, and then he looks up and he sees the Jews who are following her weeping as well, and his reaction is, and I just wonder, is he looking at the crowd that's following her, and it says that he was deeply moved and troubled. Was he looking and he realized, some of you, this is just fake. You're just coming along for a show. This is just how to do. You don't really care for this woman. This is fake mourning. But he sees the heartbreak. He knows the heartbreak of Mary. And he just looks and is like, wow. And he says, where have you laid him? He asked. Come and see, Lord, they replied. And Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, see how he loved him? But some of them said, could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying? Even in that moment. Now remember, they are in the region where the disciples said, hey, they're not fans of you, Jesus. They were trying to kill you the last time you were there. And some in this group are saying, wow, he really loved Lazarus. And others are scoffing and going, what? Isn't this the guy who healed the blind man? Couldn't he have saved him? Does he not have that much power? Did he not really care that much? And how often, when we don't get the results that we want from God, do we start to throw accusations? Don't you care about me, God? Don't you care about this situation? I mean, I've seen you do other great things. Have you lost it? Why not me? Why not me? But it continues. Jesus once more, deeply moved, so that came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. We are just maybe a little more than a week away from the crucifixion. Let that sink in for a little bit. We are a little more than a week away from the crucifixion, and Jesus is walking into this situation. My best friend is dead, and he's in this tomb, and a stone is rolled in front of it. Did he know? Did he know that's going to be his situation in not that long? Could he sense? I mean, what must have been going through his mind? Fully human, fully God. I mean, just to be in that situation, but still being able to say, I am the life and resurrection. So he told him, take away the stone. But Lord, said Martha. Martha shows up all of a sudden again. The sister of the dead man. By this time there is a bad odor, for it has been there 4 days. So what Martha is trying to say again, if you would have been here earlier, Jesus, he wouldn't have died. But at this point, it's hopeless. And there's nothing you can do. He's been dead for 4 days. She didn't say, yes, roll the stone away. Do whatever Jesus says. Yes, this is going to be amazing. This is going to be fantastic. No, her concern was, No, if you roll the stone away, there's going to be such a horrible smell because he's been decomposing for 4 days. He is dead, Jesus. There's nothing that can be done now. This is a hopeless situation. How many times have we asked God, we've been praying for God, please answer this prayer, please answer this prayer, and then we get to the point where we're just like, oh, forget it, it's hopeless now, God. You can't do this anymore. And the beautiful thing is, Jesus didn't say, oh, you're right. It's been 4 days. Maybe if I would have gotten here 1 day or 2 days. No, Jesus just says, trust me on this. Then Jesus said, did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? So they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me. But I said this for the belief of the people standing here. Benefit of the people standing here. That they may believe that you sent me. Again, a little over a week out from the crucifixion. They're 2 miles from Jerusalem. When this passage of Scripture talks about the Jews, what they're talking about is not just Jewish culturally, but also a lot of the religious leaders of the day came to mourn. They came from Jerusalem. This crowd probably will be part of the crowd that is screaming, crucify. Some in this group are ones who will be at Jesus' trial, finding him guilty. And Jesus says, the whole reason I'm praying this prayer is for those around here. Those in this crowd. God, I didn't need to pray. I didn't need to vocalize anything to you. But the whole reason that I did this is so that maybe they would believe that you sent me. And so Jesus then says, when he said this, Jesus called out in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and cloth around his face. Jesus said to them, take off the grave clothes and let him go. For those of us who maybe know this account, man, we can breeze through it. Sometimes it amazes me how easily I breeze through some of these stories. And as I was studying for this one, picture this. The man has been in the grave for 4 days. The concern is it's going to stink so bad when they just open up the grave. And you're standing there, even if you've seen Jesus heal a blind person or a crippled hand, you're standing there and Jesus calls out in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. And a dead man, let me say it again, a dead, 4 days old, cold man walks out of the grave. That is power. That is resurrection in life. And Jesus told his disciples, look, this all had to happen so that you would be able to see God's glory.
Jesus could have went. If Jesus wanted to, when he got the word that Lazarus was sick, he's done this before, he could have healed him from where he was. He could have just said, oh, he's sick no more, he's fine, go home, and he'll be fine. He could have done that. Or he could have dropped everything and said, guys, we got to go, Lazarus is sick. He could have gotten there, placed his hands on him, done whatever he needed to do, and he could have healed him, and he could have been healthy. Jesus purposely waited until Lazarus was dead, and not just mostly dead, right? I got some Princess Bride fans in here. But he waited until it was confirmed absolutely dead. 4 days in the grave. How many times do we want Jesus to perform a miracle for us? How many times are we asking God, God, fix this, fix this? And God is saying, look, hang on, I've got something greater for you. I know this is what you're after, but I've got something greater for you over here if you trust my timing. Do you trust me? He asked Martha, do you trust me? Do you believe? And Martha said, yeah, I understand, yeah. At the end, he's like, no. I'm saying, do you trust me here and now? Even if I don't give you the answers you want, do you still trust me? Because you wanted me to heal your sick brother, I'm going to raise your dead brother. And sometimes we are guilty of trying to put God on our timeline rather than us saying, God, you are God, and I will trust you in your timing. You may not answer the prayer how I'm wanting, but I am going to trust you that you have a plan. This is what I want us to focus on, though, out of that whole story. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, notice how quickly she got up and went out. They followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. They followed her. So picture this. They're in the house. They're mourning. They're probably gathered around. What would have happened is some of the other teachers and religious leaders, they would have been just giving great words of wisdom and comfort. Right? They would have probably been giving some different scriptures that should be healing and soothing to Mary and Martha, and just say, this is where your focus should be. And so they were there to give comfort and mourn with her and just, really trying to do what they could humanly to help her through the situation. And then she gets word, hey, Jesus is here. She gets up and she takes off. And they followed her. And when they followed her, they thought they were going to the tomb to mourn, because that would be the normal thing to do. But because she, Mary, was seeking Jesus, a crowd followed her, and you know what happened? An amazing Jesus moment and an encounter with the God Almighty. They went from mourning to trying to give comfort to now they have just been in the presence of God and experienced His power and His might in a way they never would have imagined. Because Mary chose to seek Jesus. And the point I want us to remember, when we seek Jesus, others follow. If you seek Jesus, if you are willing to say, I sense Jesus calling me to do whatever it might be, and you follow through and you say, you know what? I don't need to get all my ducks in a row right now. Jesus is calling. I'm heading in the direction that Jesus wants me to go. I'm going to do what I feel Jesus is calling me to do. I'm going to say what I feel Jesus is calling me to say. When you follow and you seek Jesus, others follow as well. They're watching. They're going to see. And through your obedience and seeking and following through with what Jesus is asking you to do, others will be able to experience the presence and an encounter with God. Now imagine this. Jesus comes. Martha comes and says, Mary, Jesus, he's looking for you. And Mary says, I'm staying right here. I'm going to continue to mourn. Now, even if Mary didn't come out, do I think Jesus would have raised Lazarus from the dead? Yes. But you know what would have happened? All the people would have stayed in the house with Mary and would have never seen what God was wanting them to see. They would have never had that experience because Mary was saying, no, I can't understand it. I don't know why. No, I need to pretty myself up. No, but fortunately Mary was like, yes, I need Jesus. I seek Jesus. I know Jesus is the answer. No matter what that looks like, I need to be at the feet of my Lord. And so she got up and she went. She fell at his feet. And because of that, others got to experience this amazing encounter. Are we seeking Jesus with that kind of passion? With that kind of humility? With that kind of trust? To say, God, the situation is dire, it feels hopeless, but I am going to be here at your feet because this is where I belong. I need to be trusting you. I need to be putting my hope in you. I need to be putting my comfort in you. All these people, they have great things to say. They're doing what they're supposed to do, but God, you are where I'm going to seek my comfort. And when we have that kind of devotion, when we have that kind of passion, others will see, others will follow. And others will get to experience God as well. I pray that we have that kind of motivation. I pray I have that kind of motivation. That when I hear, Dave, Jesus is here and he wants to see you, that I don't go, okay, but I have a couple meetings I need to prepare for first. Oh, okay, yeah, but I got this message. I got the board meeting coming up and I haven't sent out the agenda yet. I mean, I'll be honest, folks. There are too many times in my life where I put Jesus on hold. I want to be like Mary. And when I feel that prompting, I want to go. And I hope that's your desire as well. Let's go ahead and pray. God, thank you so much for today. Thank you for this amazing story. God, help us to be like Mary. When we feel you call, when we feel your prompting, help us to take those steps. And God, as we head into this time of communion, I just pray that this would be, for some of us, a time where we commit to you, where we say, God, forgive me, I've strayed, I'm back. Or God, help me trust in you. God, let us truly commune together. In your name we pray. Amen.